Is it possible to care about babies and parents' mental health at the same time? Does prioritising responsiveness and attachment mean the baby comes first at the expense of the caregiver? Does responsive, holistic sleep support mean we don't care about the hard time a parent is having? If you've ever wondered any of these questions, then stick around, because in today's video I'm talking about how good sleep and responsive parenting are not mutually exclusive, and how you can support parents who are struggling with their mental health as well as protect infant mental health through solid attachment. I'm Lindsay, and I'm proud to have trained over 600 professionals who are all committed to responsive strategies that achieve success without resorting to non-responsive sleep training. If this is music to your ears, then welcome on board. Why am I even talking about this? Well, because some folks think that when we mean responsive sleep support, we're talking about endorsing an approach that fully centres the child's needs and disregards the parents as less important. That we're trying to help parents accept being a doormat. That if you truly want to be responsive, that everything else is secondary, even in a mental health crisis. But is this true? I'll spare you the unnecessary palpitations and reassure you that it's absolutely not true and not what we're here for. But I'm not going to leave you with that short sentence without a more comprehensive explanation, don't worry. So let's start by thinking about where this idea that you can't support two agendas at once comes from. I don't know for sure, but I suspect it's because many people have linked poor mental health with sleep deprivation. The argument usually suggests that any strategy that isn't looking at getting a struggling parent a full night's sleep is uncaring towards the parenting crisis. Let's unpack that a little. First of all, something that's important to acknowledge is the bidirectional link between sleep and mental health. It's a classic chicken and egg scenario on two levels. Firstly, because sometimes mental health struggles have their origins either in pregnancy or even before pregnancy. Mental health is something that gets a lot of focus in early parenthood, with most people being well aware of the signs and symptoms of postnatal depression, anxiety, and birth trauma, for example. It's screened for. People are trained to look for it, ask about it, and manage it when it comes up. But the mental health struggles sometimes have their roots in deep and simply become more obvious in the context of the adaptation to parenting, changing roles, and of course sleep deprivation. And secondly, because the relationship between sleep and mental health is complex and goes both ways. That means that mental health problems can disrupt your sleep, causing insomnia, hypervigilance, and poor quality sleep, and also poor quality or insufficient sleep, either caused by mental health struggles or being woken at night by a little one, can worsen mental health. So let's say we have a baby waking twice in the night. This is perfectly normal, by the way, and it wouldn't necessarily be fair to try to eliminate those necessary night wakes. The parental mental health difficulties might not be purely due to those two wakes, but the fact that this parent takes an hour or more to return to sleep after feeding their baby, for example. So while it might feel logical to look at eliminating night wakes, actually the real problem is the parental insomnia. We've thought about the complexity of the sleep and mental health relationship, but what do parents want? Well, of course, we're not for everyone, and we're not suggesting that all parents will opt for a responsive approach. But many do, and I know because I support thousands of them, as do the graduates of the Holistic Sleep Coaching Programme. When a parent has chosen to be responsive and prioritise attachment, the last thing that will make them feel good is going against those principles, even in the face of struggling mental health. That's because there's a link between parental confidence and a belief and commitment to their chosen parenting style. Opting for a non-responsive sleep approach for the sake of sleep is unlikely to be as supportive for mental health. Non-responsive sleep training is likely to lead to feelings of guilt and regret and abandoning what they felt was important, even if just in the context of a sleep training program for a few days or weeks, is likely to make them feel worse. Let's not forget that sleep training is stressful, loud, dysregulating, and ultimately doesn't always work. It's often presented as the guaranteed way to get a child to sleep, even if all other options fail. But that isn't true. Based on hearing the stories of hundreds of families, several years ago I came up with a simple classification of rapid responders, slow responders, and non-responders to describe the major types of response to strategies such as controlled crying or cry it out. I've never used these techniques, by the way, but inevitably many parents used to come to me after trying a non-responsive approach, or perhaps it worked with their first child but not their second. There do seem to be children who respond quickly. I called these the rapid responders. They seem to take a few days or up to a week max to respond. Then there are the little ones who take a little bit longer and they cry a lot more. I called these little ones the slow responders. They may take anything from 2 to 4 weeks for a parent to see sustained improvement in sleep. Then finally, there are some little ones I've heard of who just don't seem to get it at all. They cry and cry and cry for weeks. I called these children the non-responders. But it isn't just me. If you've ever visited the Beyond Sleep Training Project, you'll find thousands of parents whose children don't seem to respond, including the founder of the organisation, a friend and fellow advocate, Carly Grubb. And in case you're worried these accounts are biased, there was a recent study that explored real-world use of sleep training techniques, including cry it out and controlled crying. In this study by Khan and colleagues, the average time to improved sleep with full cry it out was 25 days. For controlled crying, it was 32 days, and when parents remained present with their little ones, it was 43 days. So for the proponents of cry it out as a quick strategy, this is pretty irrefutable proof that it isn't as quick as it's cracked up to be, and providing support to your child overnight extended the amount of time by only 2 weeks. But mental health struggles are not just about sleep. Even if the mental health crisis has come about since having a baby, it may have nothing to do with sleep or only be partly about sleep. When you go from 0 to 1 child, there are about 1,000 changes that take place, and most of them could cause anything from mild existential crisis to full-on mental health problems. Struggles might be about the changes in relationship, loss of role, financial insecurity, the mother load, a sense of being torn between a career and parenthood, and the overwhelming responsibility of being a mother or parent. None of those issues are fixed by a better night's sleep per se. Obviously, a good night's sleep makes everything feel a little bit better, and I absolutely get that. But even once the sleep tank is full, if there are other issues causing distress, anxiety, or depression, sleep won't fix those. The million-dollar question is, can we have it all? Well, we have to be realistic. Can we guarantee perfect mental health, an 8-hour sleep for a parent, and 0 disruption to a baby? Probably not. So what can we do? Firstly, we can have realistic expectations of what normal sleep looks like. Second, we can listen, empathise, and understand the struggles a parent has. Third, we can support them to get help from the most appropriately qualified professional for their mental health difficulty. Fourth, we can guide them to consider what sources of support are open to them. Fifth, we can offer hacks and ideas to make life in general easier, offering hope along the way. Sixth, we can encourage and praise their efforts to parent in a responsive way. Seventh, we can teach them ways to make sleep easier at nap and bedtime. Eighth, we can rule out underlying causes for suboptimal infant sleep. 9, we can suggest ways to optimise sleep at night based on our knowledge of sleep biology. And finally, we can come up with family-centred, gentle ways to move towards more sustainable sleep patterns that centre responsiveness and are age and developmentally appropriate. So can you walk the line between good mental health, optimal sleep and responsive parenting? The message is yes. Holistic sleep coaches absolutely do care about the whole family, and it's our job to come up with creative, sustainable solutions that work for everyone, not just focus on one individual. If you're interested in supporting families by blending empathy and compassion with science and evidence base, then we would love to hear from you. The first step is to book a call and see if we're a good fit. All you need to do is click the link below this video. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Speak to you soon.